and so I'm super curious to learn more. And that was we even laughed because I was sharing my screen, and then she told me, "Ah, you should connect with Victor." And then I arrived on your profile, and we had like 90 connection in common. And so she said, "Okay, so yeah, that was making sense." Um, and yeah, so happy to kind of introduce each other. And the reason why Suzanne also told me to reach out is because I'm kind of discussing with her on a concept of a community fund. And I was kind of really uh, thinking about this concept for quite some time now, and I have also experimented on launching one on one topic with my company, and I will tell you more about it later. But then what I realized, actually, what triggers me early this year was kind of the fact that ecosystem builder are probably the more able to understand community fund. And I realized that maybe the first community fund that should be created could be a community fund of ecosystem builders, because they understand collaboration, they understand the need for collaboration, and they understand ecosystem that are bigger than them. And so in some ways, they could be the early adopters of this kind of concept.
I mean, it sounds amazing. Do you have a presentation? Do you want to just walk me through the presentation?
Yes, I have a presentation, so but happy to present it to you first, and then we
Yeah,
discuss. Or
I think that will be great because I work on a bunch of different things. So rather than kind of going, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, if I understand what you're talking and what you're thinking, also, I've been networking really widely. So if I understand what you're thinking, then it'll be much easier to have a concrete conversation. So I love it.
cool. Sorry, maybe it's not this one. Yeah, it's this one.
Uh-huh. Just gonna get tea. Yes, please go.
So yeah, so I kind of made the first introduction. So here there is the Scoby Collective logo, but this is just because it's our presentation, but we don't I mean we don't care really much about the name and so on. So the idea of that was what I told you on the fact that we see uh, uh, so Scoby Collective, I would say maybe starting like this. So Scoby Collective is a collective of many experts globally, and we have started to do investment of time and resources into companies to help them grow, and sometimes to even help them be created from zero. Uh, by kind of pooling resources and providing them expertise to entrepreneurs, to project, and so on and so on. And we have done that in exchange of shares in those companies by considering kind of the time built as an investment in the company. And what we have seen is that we have made about 300K in investment from just the time and resources of the community behind Scoby. So all the experts providing their time, being able to uh,
Just so I get a sense of the size, how old is this Kobe collective and how many people are currently participating? Members associated that are in your collaborators group.
yeah, so it's pretty new. It's been 2 years, and we have about 300 members, like 300 members, part of the community. But when we say the people who have really actively contributed in exchange of shares in the company, I've been more about 25.
Okay, that's amazing. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. So basically, this is just to say that we have started experimenting it, and that was the purpose of us doing this, was to experiment also, and not yeah, I mean, start by experimenting it. So the idea of a Regen ecosystem community fund is there is many of us, I mean, there is many of us building an ecosystem, and what I realize is the community fund aspect can really enable more collaboration through mutualization of interest and resources. So basically, by kind of mutualization of interest and resources, we will give people a good reason to collaborate more. So the project will be to kind of to build a positive possible future, creating an ecosystem to drive solution for tomorrow with regenerative finance, collaboration, and distributed governance. But it doesn't make sense alone. So we were on this journey to experiment it and to build this, and we realized that we are many doing this also, um, and so we realized that doesn't make sense alone. But then let me guess, you are also building probably a regenerative ecosystem to drive planetary solution composed of collaboration tools and platforms, excellent talent with collective intelligent practices, and regenerative finance systems. And so, are you? Yeah.
Yes, that and more. I've started a new project around, I think, so I really think for me, the interesting is the intersection of the collaboration tools, and I think especially Web3 AI and of the regenerative mindset. So where I'm sitting at now is that we need both in good balance. So I met Susan 10 years ago or something through the Reinventing Organizations Teal World, and we got really excited, and there is amazing energy, and of course they're doing great work, but in the end it hasn't taken off the way that we hoped. And I think the reason for that is self-management is a tool. It's not enough. It's not a purpose in and of itself, right? And I think the regenerative movement with the connection to the biosphere, connection to the future, brings more of the purpose. And then the whole self-management movement is missing really good tooling, especially around equity, shared ownership, and all of this. And then spreading the ideas, I think the AI, I'm really excited about AI and Web3. Actually, to be honest, less from the technological side, which I think is important, but especially from the mindset and the finance and the narrative. I really see Web3 as the only place where there is openness to try radically new ways of organizing and and there is an investment flowing for those kinds of tools. So yes, at the same time, also I organized an event. I'm looking at gatherings, how to do physical events. I've organized a gathering here twice and taking it global. I'm really interested is the next wave is regenerative scaling. So how to take, for example, project patterns, organizational patterns, and create tools. And that's where I think AI comes in to spread them. Because it's actually not true that every single business needs to be unique, special, and innovative. You know, most businesses are coffee shops, consultancies, which are exactly the same or very similar around the world. And we need better ways of sharing practices, patterns, right? And I'm also really interested in how we can create tools and frameworks which enable us to embed best practices, ideas, business models, event models as patterns, which
Mm,
means that they can be expressed in a locally relevant way,
yeah,
right? So share the core and the essence, but
yeah,
not like this is the 10 steps and this is how you follow them, but
no,
this is the pattern and the methodology. I mean, you've been around this ecosystem, you know, right? As a young facilitator or trainer or whatever, you follow the rule book, right? And then when you get good enough, you don't need a rule book because you know it and you can make it up as you go along because you
yeah.
have internalized all of those things and express it in a way that's relevantly appropriate. So, how do we give that ability to tools and to people? So, these are the kinds of things that I work on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought,
No, 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 it's good, it's good. So yeah, it's good, but I like this way of kind of also interacting with each other. So and that's why I kind of put it this way. And I see that, I mean, I'm coming also from the, maybe I tell you this as well. So I'm coming also from the teal world as well as the steward ownership space. So that's how I met Suzanne was we connected through the ambassador of Purpose Foundation globally. She's the ambassador for New Zealand and I'm the ambassador for France and Mexico a bit. Um, and so that's how we met. And then through within this group, we connected also because we were kind of teal fan. And so we directly discussed. And so that's how we kind of connected. And I see I mean, and the Web3 is actually what I see and what I've already kind of used within Scoby to allocate shares and not really shares, but more dividend rights or liquidity rights to respect the steward ownership kind of model where you don't own, but you have some kind of rewards or compensation for the work you have done. So you will see later on in this presentation, but the idea here is what I see from what you say is the most important thing is collaboration tools and platforms and the excellent talent with the practices. And then, so at least those two are the key ones for you within this kind of ecosystem play. But so it's kind of, let me guess, you are building this regenerative ecosystem, but you know others are individually starting to create similar ecosystems and claiming that collaboration is the solution, but still creating it separately. These
it's
initiatives,
interesting. I talked to a friend who is really connected in the different impact networks and stuff. And he says everybody talks about collaboration, but nobody's doing it. So
yeah,
seems
exactly.
like collaboration has become the new teenage sex, right? Everybody's talking about it, nobody's doing it.
And so these initiatives seemed different because we started building them from different geographies, different perspective, and from where our expertise lies. So for sure, from different sides. But in fact, what if in fact we were building the same ecosystem and we are inside it or it is around us and our point of view is too narrow to see it.
Yeah, it's
So
really interesting last year. And by the way, I'm recording this. I think it'll probably be good. We can post it, but we can decide after. But last year in uh, organizing and reaching out to invite people to the gathering, I had something like 300 or more calls with amazing, amazing people doing amazing work. And my partner at the time, she also had hundreds of calls. And after a while, we were just, you know what, there's just one project. Everybody's working on the one project.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And so shouldn't we build it jointly, leveraging the different parts that have already been created because we started from different parts, and that's the beauty of diversity. Let's kind of use those different parts already built and kind of assemble it as a puzzle. Because then our diversity of expertise and point of view will enrich this kind of, will give a very good kickstart of this ecosystem. And maybe we already have it complete if we really kind of collaborate. And so mutualization as a catalyst, what I really believe is it's not so much about ownership. Ownership is
Maybe,
there, or
maybe
like rewards. Sorry.
because you used this word before, and I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can explain and define what you mean by mutualization.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe I should explain it before. Actually, I will explain it, I think, just after this slide. So, mutualization as a catalyst, I see that kind of a question, a basic question is like, if you were the steward of all these other ecosystems being created at the same time, will you be open to share your database of experts, the tools that you have built, the knowledge you've learned, and the practices that you have experienced? Probably yes.
I
And
mean,
so,
was that, did you want me to answer the question or not? Or was it rhetorical?
yeah, I mean, it could be, yeah.
So I can tell you in my experience, because also I'm trying to get people in all of this, the answer to this is yes, if it doesn't cost me extra effort.
Yeah, okay.
Usually in the world of people that's around us, it's not that people want to hide information or whatever. They just don't feel they have the time and the effort to do it.
Hmm.
That's the big blocker. That's where I think tools can help, but also practice. We can talk about it later. But in my
Yeah.
experience, the answer to this, yes, if it's not extra effort.
And so that's a good point. And I think that will bring, I mean, that's a good introduction to explaining what I mean by mutualization, is because maybe not requiring extra effort is also because they they're happy to share, but if they don't have any interest of sharing, then if it costs them more effort, then they have no interest of doing it. But within the mutualization element that I mean is kind of co-owning a portion of all the ecosystems or of all the participants. And that's kind of mutualization. It's kind of everyone putting in a pool part of their organization, part of their ecosystem, part of the ownership or the the benefits of what they have built. And so if everyone will be kind of sharing part of the benefits, and that will kind of enable more collaboration, but not only, it's like sharing interest plus having be part as a steward. And I think the two are really important. And if you are asking others to help you drive your business as a steward, but they have no interest of doing it, then they might not want to invest more time and effort. But if they have two, if they have kind of a driving seat um, plus some interest, then they will be kind of, I think, enabling much more collaboration. And so what I see is that if the answer is kind of basically yes here, then it can exist today. We just need to kind of acknowledge the superior Holland around us. So acknowledging that, yeah, we are building maybe one ecosystem, but it's bigger than us or bigger than what we are building. Organizing a governance for it, meaning that, okay, we need to kind of find ways of all being able to be steward of this, and how does it look like, and mutualizing our interest in a portfolio, meaning that to make sure we can have the time to do it in a way, and to share, because we have some interest in it. We have some interest in the success of others, yeah, basically. And so if you are ready, the next step are quite simple, is join the community fund as a steward, invest in the community fund with some of your shares, lead your venture. So that means will not do some ingerence stuff. So you still continue to lead your venture, but with the power of the collective, being the fact that everyone now wants and have an interest to help you and to share with you resources and so on and so on. And then collaborate with other portfolio platforms, so with others, and participate in the decision for future investment. Why future investment is because then this kind of baseline of mutualizing, sorry, I'm having a hard time with the pronunciation, but mutualizing the different participants in this bigger ecosystem will enable the community fund to eventually raise capital to do even more and to aggregate, to build from scratch other missing part of the ecosystem that no one has built before. But with kind of a governance that will really enable us to not build things that have been already built. And we can all decide what we really need for this ecosystem to thrive and then invest in it or acquire it or build it. So how it could look like as a steward ownership structure. So the idea is the steward on one side, a foundation on the other side to keep really separated the voting right in a way, the driving seats and the benefits of the community fund. And then we have members who contribute to the community fund with time, resources, effort. Then we have investors contributing to the community fund with cash and capital. And then we have the community fund owning the collective. So that means the network of experts facilitating the collaboration, the portfolios. So that means all the different organizations that are participating or forming this ecosystem and the tools that are serving the ecosystems. So one question is, what do you expect in exchange of investing your shares within the community fund and joining as a steward? You said, yes, I'm keen, but if it doesn't take too much time, but what if you were kind of compensated for that, for bringing some of your shares, but also for helping as a steward of this? Are you just looking for like financial returns, millions of dollars, some hundreds thousand, a control over it, a driving seat, just voting rights, or just knowing that it finally exists? You don't need to answer clearly here, but this is an important question to create mutualization. And I think it's really about answering it one by one that can enable us to bring each other's into this community fund.
So I can tell you what's missing here. What is actually, I think, a key thing for many people, and it's actually a driving part in a lot of my work, is people want a sense of belonging, so not feeling alone, both with their problems on the tough side, but also not feeling alone with their ideas. Feeling that they are in a rich environment of opportunities, right? So, okay, it's great. You have a well-paid job, but then if you lose your job and you're going to have to go through and you're all alone with the million others of applicants and you're sending resumes generated by AI to be read by AI, it's shitty, right? If instead you are part of a community where you're like, I don't know, there will be somebody who will need at least some help from me, right?
Yeah.
So being part of an environment, so belonging, being part of an environment of opportunity, a sense of camaraderie, friendship, mutual support. I think those things are really important. And this is something that I emphasize in my work, not because it's maybe necessarily more important than having money to buy milk, but it's actually, if you organize it, it's just culture and it's very cheap to provide. If there is a clear expectation in systems of who you can reach out to and get help and support, that doesn't cost money. And it's
Yeah.
actually interesting because one of the reasons that I started the gathering is having so many friends, either doing startups, change makers, etc., and burning out and feeling alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's just bullshit. There's 5 kilometers away is another person doing a similar project and also feeling alone. And it
Yeah.
doesn't like, okay, maybe you can't give that, but just listen, right? And most of support, we just need somebody else to listen so that we know we aren't alone, right? Most
Yeah.
of the time, we don't need people to come and solve our problems. We just need people that we know that we're not alone to give us, enough strength to get through it. And that's just a basic coordination failure in society and especially in our ecosystem. And that's, I think, those human relations, I think, is a key thing that a ecosystem like this can provide and should provide.
Yeah. And I totally agree, and I will add it on the presentation, but I also totally agree that it's sometimes the missing part in what I feel the Web3 ecosystem is sometimes very techy, very product oriented, and lose this aspect, this human aspect of
Sure, that's
uh,
why I was saying maybe I need to learn how to communicate it better. But I see it as yin yang again.
yeah.
You need the doing and the being, right? And if you have just consciousness, waking up, and all of this without the doing, you end up with new age, you
Mm-hmm.
know, healers healing healers, as my friend once joked. And if you just have more and more technology without consciousness, you end up with meme coins. Also, this is not helping society move forward. So you
Yeah.
need both of those sides working together. But I think, and that's why I think it's really important when designing systems like this and coming from a teal or regenerative or other thing is how do we create a rich, thriving human system, which means both the opportunities for doing, making money, building products, building companies, and the opportunities for being, for supporting each other, for belonging together.
Yeah. 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 No, it's true.
Sorry, please
So,
go ahead.
and I think that also here the importance is not that we create a rule that we say, if you join, you will have this, and this, and everyone will have the same. And I think this is also important that each of us ask ourselves, what do I want in exchange? And why do I join this community fund? Some might be for, I mean, the expectation and the interest will be different. And that's important to keep this difference because that enable us to also accept more people from different point of view and different, I mean, where they are kind of in their needs and in their interest. So what it could look like is, yeah,
Also, what connects with that, it's really important to create a culture where people understand and sense what their needs and what their offers are at this moment, that there is a culture and rituals of communicating it, of building awareness, right? Because I'm sure you've come across this. All of us have a huge number of things to offer, which are not on our resume,
yeah,
right? But are contributions that we could make. And, we also have many needs, which actually maybe we haven't thought about, but actually would improve our life if they were served. So I think that culture, this is, I think, key in building this kind of an organization, is the culture that you build of the sharing the needs and offers. But sorry, please go ahead.
yeah. No, it's a true point. And so this is just a kind of a basic first element of what it could look like, but I think you probably have already imagined how it could look like, and each of the member of this community fund will have things to add on and so on. But here, what I wanted to also keep is something very simple, something that can work with all the organization and all how they are structured is yeah. And so offering kind of very much flexibility in how we can build it. But in terms of governance, I see two key elements. One is collaboration and sharing resources. It's kind of how we organize ourselves to not replicate work within the ecosystem. And so having a joint network of experts seems to me kind of a key element, because we are all pooling resources from different people. And at the end, an ecosystem is people. And so if it's people, then it's a network. And how we kind of grow this network, how we engage this network, doesn't make sense to be done in many different ways. Or it could be, but within circles of this network. But it's really acknowledging that kind of our network, your network, and everyone's network is actually one, because we don't have exclusivity with people. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have exclusivity with people, so they are free to do whatever they want. And so if they are free to be part of 10 networks. And so that means they are part of one network, in a sense. And
Yeah,
then
I mean, within reason, right? And this is the interesting thing is these days I'm more interested in ecosystems than networks. And for me, the difference is that an ecosystem implies more interconnection and a deeper relationships, meaningful relationships.
yeah,
Whilst
I
the
agree.
network is, it could be anything. And that's where you just start having, when you're talking about real meaningful relationships, we all have cognitive limitations on how many relationships you can have. I mean, some people are into polygamy and they have multiple partners. I struggle just to keep one wife happy. But even then, there is just practical cognitive limits. But I think where it stretches is when we have many interconnections, right? It multiplies, right? If I have 10 relationships and those people have 10 relationships, then through second, third degree connections, like here now, right? We didn't connect directly. Susan connected us. It's power of second degree connections. And that,
Yeah,
yes, then definitely that allows strong interlinking between networks, ecosystems, like you suggest.
yeah. And then it's also kind of organizing ourselves on what are the tools we recommend, what are the tools and tech stacks we want to use, to also kind of make sure we are not building new ones that are actually replicating others, and also have recommendation. Okay, I have not used this tool, but you recommended me, and so I'm starting using it, and it helps me a lot on one aspect of the work I'm doing. Then perfect. And I haven't had the need to go through 10 tools and try them, because you have tried them and you have kind of recommended me this one for the purpose I was looking for. So that's the governance of kind of the collaboration and the sharing resources. Then there is a governance of the investment and the fund allocation of, okay, first, if we have a pool of capital or a pool of cash that we receive from investment, as we mapped, we have investors being able to also join the ecosystem by investing cash and not their shares of their company into the ecosystem. Then it's how we allocate it into project. And so I think here it's a combination of advice process plus consensus, more than a pure democratic voting right, because then it's the more people you gather into your project, the more vote you have, and then the more money you have, and then the more people you have, and then it's kind of
I
uh,
I I understand.
So
I am I realized I had an epiphany recently because everybody talks about governance and da da da, and I realized I'm an implementation guy. I am worried about everything that happens after the decision is made, which in my world is 99.8% of the time. So I know governance is important, and I know many people spend, and I have friends that are deep governance experts, but I'm like, yeah, okay, we made a decision, and then how do we get it done?
yeah.
So, yeah, it's important, but let's move on. I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah. And I think what you said is that's where I like the beauty of the teal movement because it's really much about, okay, you have an idea, but will you drive this idea further? And also kind of not kind of suggesting an idea just and then letting others do it in a way that it's will you own this project and drive this project further? If yes, then okay, we give you a chance.
And actually, this slide, governance, collaborating and sharing resources, the governance goes with the investment fund allocation. I think the collaboration sharing resources is a separate slide. And I would actually, for me, this slide would be resources and tools on the one side and culture on the other, because this is massive in terms of accelerating collaboration,
Yeah.
right?
True.
So for example, things like it's become standard in my world check-ins or
Mm.
retrospectives or nonviolent communication, uh, a bunch of these things. And then suddenly when you go to work, somebody that doesn't get those things, or sometimes, I mean, I still get people that don't know how to use Google Drive. And I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, okay, if somebody's paying me by the hour, I can tutor you on Google Drive. But if it's not this
Yeah.
collaboration culture of expectations around feedback, expectations on how to use different tools, right? What goes in a document? What goes in a chat? Do you use email? Things like this, right? For example, it's a small thing, but I'm talking to so many people. There is still some people that are like, don't know or refuse to use a calendar booking link.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, okay, if you're a world top 10 speaker and it's my honor to speak with you, then okay, then just I'll talk to your secretary or whatever. But for everybody else, it's just faster, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So using the tools and the culture, the collaboration culture, being open, communicating, working out loud, updates, all of this stuff, right? It all stacks up because it's
Yeah.
all tools you need. With the tools, you need the culture. This has been my massive learning and the rituals around how to use the tools. And when you have a group of people that share this, collaboration starts like this.
Mm.
I still I was once, it was quite a few years ago now, but I was on a call with Greater Than something, some kind of internal town hall or something, and they were using, it wasn't even Miro, it was Murally, but they're all facilitators,
Mm.
and it was like magic. The
Yeah.
board, all the information came together, then it got clustered, then it got color coded, then it got organized by size. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's literally like magic in front of your eyes because everybody's an expert on these tools and you just
Mm.
have 10x, 100x velocity
Mm.
in organizing and in moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to say the same. Is like when you see the teal practices practiced by people who are expert in teal, the beauty of the the mindfulness and the decision making and the improvement of the decision of the first proposal being made by the group, and you look at the final decision taken compared to the first proposal, you see that that's actually decision making magic in a way.
Yes, and also a key part of the decision making is just the awareness of, am I going to engage? Am I going to participate? Do I need to care about this decision, or can I just let it go? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to have an opinion. Does this concern
Yeah.
me? Does it, like, okay. Uh,
Okay.
that's a huge one. And I was going to say something else. Ah, yes, something that we didn't mention, or maybe I missed it, is learning, training,
Mm.
apprenticeship,
Yeah.
right? Because, okay, we speak, it's great to work with the experts, but we need a system that brings people into this expertise. And I think a lot of smaller organizations struggle, or smaller projects, because they don't quite have the bandwidth to train up young people. So somewhere in this whole scheme needs to be some touching of how do we do apprenticeship, mentoring. And mentoring, I think, is a huge one. Eldership, right? I mean, I've been missing mentors, I've been missing elders my whole life, right? Not
Yeah.
because I haven't had, I mean, partially my grandfather was out, but then also the world is changing so much, and yeah, I haven't had that. And this kind of a structure can very much help with that.
Okay. No, no, I put training, mentorship, but I also feel that gathering and what we were discussing with Suzanne, and maybe that's also why she brought you here on the discussion, is that we need a safe place to also meet. And I totally agree on kind of remote work and being as a network. It's easy to be everywhere where we are. I mean, everyone where we are, but we need places where we can meet and connect
Look
with
at me.
energy.
After
Yeah,
15 years of remote work, I started an in-person festival.
yeah, yeah. So this is kind of also a key element into the ecosystem. So one element to that is also compensation. So we brought the question of what do you expect in exchange? And so you brought in the sense of belonging and so on and so on. I think there is always also a will to be compensated for the work, for the time, for the investment made, and for the shares invested in the community fund at some point. After, I think that so this is a first draft and a first proposal, but it's also kind of I think it's a baseline. Um, but one thing that I see more and more in the steward ownership structure, and also in this new form of collective where they are seeking investment and they are seeking time investment from their members, is most of the time the investor putting cash into the ecosystem have kind of priority right of they will be paid back first, and then when they will be paid back fully, then we will pay back the time. And what I feel is,
Yes.
um,
So I'm really sorry. I'm going to rudely interrupt you
I,
because I realize we are out of time. I need to be driving. My wife has a. How many more slides do you have?
no, no more one. I think this is the last one.
Amazing. All right. So let's just wrap in 1 or 2 minutes because my wife has an opening for her fundraise today. Is starting. I'll send you something. It's a beautiful project, but it's quite stressful. So I need to be driving soon. Are you
Okay.
talking to Quorum One?
Yes.
Okay, so you know
So
about the work that they're doing, the venture cooperatives, and this whole space. You're plugged in with them.
yes, exactly.
Okay, great.
And maybe one element there is I think they have more the difficulty I see here is like everyone see themselves as a bit more advanced than others sometimes. And I feel that this kind of the idea is like, yes, you are probably advanced on some element, and you have then the capability to build faster the rest, but it's not about that. And I think it's really how to really complement each other. And one
Oh,
element that
I'm going to interrupt you again before my wife gets upset. I'm going to give you my pitch in 30 seconds, maybe one.
okay,
Uh,
nice.
And I think it will be a nice follow-up for what we can do together. So I'll send you this. I'm just starting this now. So
Okay.
because I see exactly the need that you presented of more people knowing about what everybody is doing and all of this, I'm kicking off this project. It's not a new organization. It's a project and it's an invitation to many organizations to collaborate, to have these conversations that we're having with the goal that projects know about each other, learn about each other, and go deeper on this stuff, that we create a public conversation so more people know about these ideas,
Hmm.
uh, creating the shared media. And the proposal is very simple. Basically, we just have we can discuss, but the themes that I propose, because I'm really interested in talking about not the philosophy, but
Hmm.
how is everybody implementing this?
Hmm.
So I'm proposing conversations along three themes: ecosystem and finance, the product, and team building. I mean, there'll be other themes. And the idea is that everybody uh, has conversations or interviews with other projects that are interested. So we have the themes and we have questions. And then everybody talks to everybody else. And we post all of the media and then feed it into an AI to create a shared synthesis. But rather
Hmm.
than doing a podcast, me interviewing 100 people, which wouldn't be fun, everybody talks to everybody else, right?
Hmm.
And we record these conversations and then everybody shares them through the network. So
Okay,
we kind of
nice.
emerge a meta narrative from all of the conversations. So it's
Super.
not like this is the story, this is the idea. Instead, we shape the meta narrative by who we invite to the conversation and what questions we ask them to engage with.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
everybody speaks in their own language and in their own ideas. So to create more visibility, and the goal is, first of all, more visibility, more conversation around this in the world, around these ideas. So all of everybody's projects and ideas are multiplied into the world. And then emerge out of these conversations, we will start to see who is aligned enough that we can share tools, like you said, that we can create interoperable tools. And also, I want to work towards a fundraise, creating a fund or a portfolio fundraise for a bunch of these tools that hopefully intercooperate and play together.
Okay,
But start with conversation, right? And but not just conversation, talk to people, record, post online.
nice. And do you think this can merge the concept of community fund and kind of, I don't know, having like form this, um, yeah,
So look, my what I know is we all need to talk together more.
yeah,
It's easy to record and post conversations now.
yeah,
And I mean, the AI stuff, I'm not an expert, but we can get the AI to help with synthesis and so on and so forth.
yeah,
And I also know from my experience, once we start talking and knowing who's doing what, then naturally relationships will form and what we do and how we do it will emerge from that.
yeah.
So it's
And
conversation first. From conversations come relationships. From relationships come projects and things we can do together.
definitely cool. Okay.
Nice, wonderful. And it's great that you're talking to Quorum One. I'll post this video on YouTube, and I mean I'll share it with you before and stuff. But uh, what are your needs? What do you need
I
most?
think for now and with Suzanne, what we said was like we want to have a yes or no kind of, and also kind of, do you want to be co-building it, or do you want us, or do you want the group to kind of suggest the next steps? But basically, it's having the people who really are committed to creating this community fund to say, okay, let's meet in a first initial meeting with the people who want to commit to this idea of community fund. And the community fund is not Scoby Collective. I want to be also clear of that. The community fund is something above us, and Scoby Collective, we are a participant in that.
What I can
Greater than,
what I can tell you now is I can't commit to anything in the first half of the year. I can definitely commit to plugging you in and helping spread the word and connect you with as many people as possible.
okay,
And
cool.
then, once things start flowing, then we
Yeah,
will see, because I'm talking to other people that are talking about funds and all of this. So let's start talking, let's start exchanging, and then it will be clear, right? Because we need to get to the people with the big money, right? I mean,
yeah,
I am really looking at, we need to be raising a few million to a few 100 million. And we need to be talking to the high net worth individuals, impact investors, and so on and so forth. And for that, we definitely, if we have unity, it will be good. But I
yeah,
think we're still at the stage where we need more conversations to emerge this meta narrative and create coherence, see who is at where, and then and then I think naturally the projects will fall out.
yeah.
Will I mean Fallout
Definitely.
will come together, and it will be clear, so I'm interested in working with Quorum One. I'm interested in working with a bunch of other people, and it'd be great if we all work together. But I think first we need more conversations, everybody with everybody.
For sure. For sure. And I think definitely more conversation. I let you go for
Yes,
your, yeah,
yes, I'm going. Great. We are in touch. I'll send you this document. Please comment on it. Think who to invite. And let's start this meta conversation, everybody talking with everybody more and publishing it.
yeah,
And I think from that, relationships emerge. From the relationships, shared projects will emerge.
cool.
Great.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Victor. Bye.